Well, rain that fell over parts of the coastal areas of the Northeast, especially for Long Island and southeastern New England, is finally winding down, and we should see weather conditions improve somewhat. Meanwhile, we've got showers and some thunderstorms from the Great Lakes down into the southeast. We've got hot weather building up in the Plain States and eventually shifting over into the west. And we'll take a look at the tropics. That's all coming up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this podcast. Use the coupon code SUMMER 2024. And if you do, you will get 10% off on your purchase. Good evening, everybody. Not exactly sure where Joe Rayo is, but as soon as he uh, connects with me, we'll get him on the air. Just wanted to get the show started here on this Monday night after what actually turned out to be for parts of central and eastern Long Island and into southeastern New England uh, a rather interesting day from the standpoint of rain. There were areas of 1 to 3 inches of rain. If you cut Long Island in half and go east, that pretty much covers the zone. And it was kind of uneven. It wasn't a smooth 1 to 3 inches. I see Bill Uber on the chat board saying he only got a half an inch where he is. But there were spots on the east end. Jason Schaefer, who's on the chat board from time to time, 4 inches of rain on the South Fork on Long Island. So it was definitely a very wet day, all from the pesky upper low and the surface low that went with it. But now that's starting to move away to the northeast. And really, kind of as we look ahead to this week, it's the kind of weather you probably would expect for the last days of July and the first days of uh, August. And that means that we are going to have very humid conditions for the rest of the week. And we'll probably have some occasional shower and thunderstorm activity that'll be popping up from time to time and from place to place. But nothing widespread, nothing that means that it's going to rain all day long. Also, as far as temperatures are concerned, they're going to be very warm to borderline hot. We'll be talking about upper 80s to maybe lower 90s especially by the time we get toward the end of the week, not for this first part of the week, but maybe toward Thursday and Friday. But we're not dealing with extreme heat here as we go through this week. So just a second here. I'm seeing that Joe Rayo is having some issues, so let me try again. Hold on just a second. And hold on. Up, there he comes. He's on his way. You get these connectivity issues, as Joe always likes to say, it's always technology, folks, technology. Is that,
Technology.
would you have a tough time hooking up?
No, every once in a great while on this computer, when down in the lower right hand corner, there's a whole slew of little icons and symbols or whatever. And I saw the symbol just as I was getting ready to sign on at 7:28 or whatever, and it showed that I didn't have any internet. And I said, "Oh, fa." Now it's interesting. The modem and the Wi-Fi are both working properly, but in
Hmm.
order for me to get the internet on the computer here, the desktop, I have to literally shut everything down,
Or
power
bring it back up. Yeah.
everything back up again. So that took a little bit, and but anyway, I'm here.
You're here. Yes, I was just pointing out how uh, central and parts of central and eastern Long Island today got clobbered with rain. I don't know if you looked at the radar at some point this morning, but there were some pretty heavy thunderstorms that played through that area. All thanks to this, pesky upper low and the surface low that went with it. But thankfully that is starting to move away. I did also notice some shower bands actually made it all the way back almost to the Catskills and into northeastern Pennsylvania.
Well, I know that it rained a little bit locally here in Putnam Valley because my deck looked a little damp, and then when I went down to the end of the driveway to get my newspaper, which is usually wrapped in two clear bags of cellophane or whatever, the it was wet. So I said, okay. So it rained, and that was about, you know, how much could I have possibly received? I still am having a problem with my rain gauge,
Your
but I
tipping spoon.
it's probably no more than a couple of hundredths of an inch, maybe. So, well, Long Island got clobbered. Yours truly got a little bit.
All right. We actually here in North Georgia had we had a couple of downpours today, but they didn't neither one of them lasted long, and the sun came out in between, and it was warm and it was humid, but it wasn't anything outrageous. I think I managed to get into the 80s for a short time, which we haven't done much of in the last 3 or 4 days. And I went from no rain to now everything is wet. Don't have to water my hydrangeas. I put up pictures of my hydrangeas on Facebook, and they're doing spectacularly. So I'm very happy about that. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board, and welcome to those of you who are lurking in the background on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which you can find also on Spotify. In case you miss us on YouTube and you want to listen to us in the car or on the beach or wherever you are. But just subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss us. We're on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. The occasional Friday and Saturday when there's a storm around, and of course, if we do add a show, we always let you give you plenty of notice. But if you have if you turn your notifications on, then even if you miss the notification, me notifying you, the notifications will notify you. And also, if you like the show, by all means, please do hit the like button. So, what are you sharing on the screen there? What is that?
Um, it is. It should be a view of the system that we had here in the Northeast. This is a satellite view from GOES, and you could see how beautiful it looks. Actually, I mean, you could see the swirl of clouds. You can also see the sharp cutoff from the cloud cover. I guess anywhere west of Williamsport or Ithaca had some beautiful sunny skies out there today, but meanwhile we were stuck underneath the cloud cover. This doesn't show the precipitation, but as you mentioned, Joe, there were some pockets of some rather heavy rain that especially fell from, I guess, the city and points east and south, and also across portions of New England as well. But there it is.
Yeah, and that loop looks like it was from earlier today. This would have been if this cutoff had kind of dropped down off the North Carolina coast and sat there for a couple of days, then we might have had wound up with a tropical system out of it. But it just happened way too fast. A wave developed on Saturday, and by the time we go to Sunday, by yesterday, the wave was already turning northward and northwestward, and the upper low was cold core, so it didn't have time to warm up. But as I was saying before you came on, this week and probably through this weekend and going into next week, we're just having peak, I guess we could call it peak summer weather. It's going to be humid. There'll be opportunities for showers and thunderstorms, but it's not the sort of thing where it rains nonstop. There's going to be large, dry periods in there where you'll get some sunshine in there, and uh, there's nothing really too unusual going on this week.
I don't seem to understand what Vincent Croce means on the chat board. He's asking me if I saw Aunt Martha in Ithaca. Um,
Aunt Martha in Ithaca.
yeah,
Aunt Martha. Well, there's Aunt Martha's old-fashioned salad dressing. So
from
there's
Ithaca.
that. There's that Aunt Martha. Was there an Aunt Martha on Leave It to Beaver?
Well, I know that who was the actress who played um, Aunt Harriet on
Yeah, but
Batman?
I don't ever mention here, and I don't ever recall them ever mentioning Aunt Harriet being from Ithaca.
No, I don't either. So I don't
Um,
understand where is it.
all right, well, Vincent, see if you can clear that up for us because we'll be scratching our heads and just probably going crazy until we know the reference of who this dear, sweet, charming Aunt Martha is.
Yes.
So in the meantime, you look to see if he posts an answer, and in the meantime, we'll go to the watches and warnings.
Oh, I'd
Uh,
say Vincent Croce says the honeymooners, but no, Uncle Leo,
Uncle Leo.
Uncle Leo, but he wasn't, and he wasn't from Ithaca. He was from Utica.
Oh, oh, huge difference.
Yes, yes. So
Huge difference. All
anyway,
right. Well, we've got there's it's all heat
it's good to
advisory.
see you, Joe.
Yes, it's good to see you too. Um, it's all heat advisories in the lower Mississippi Valley. Half of Tennessee is in a heat advisory in the western half. The eastern half is not. Half of Alabama is in a heat advisory. The western half. The eastern half is not, except for about 6 counties that they've put it under a heat advisory. And those heat advisories go up into Nebraska and Iowa. We also have excessive heat warnings for central and eastern Kansas, much of northern and central Missouri, and then it kind of sort of snakes down along the Mississippi River down into northwestern Mississippi. Some red flag warnings up in the northern and central Rockies and in the Wasatch, and we still have some fog issues in the interior areas of the Northwest. In the east, it's quiet from Maine to Florida. I see two small areas where I'm going to guess that these are more air. Wait, let me just double check on this. If these are, is this fog or air quality? It's air quality because of the wildfires. There's wildfires out in the west, so we've got air quality alerts and dense smoke advisories, Joe. There are dense smoke advisories up, and those are for 2 counties in northwestern Nevada and 1 county in northeastern California. So let's see what that says. Um, the dense smoke advisory. Visibility below 3 miles at times, unhealthy air quality due to smoke from the Park Fire in Northern California. And in California, we in Lassen and East Plumas counties in Nevada, northern Washoe, Pershing, and Churchill counties. Oh, in California, it's Lassen and East Plumas counties, and in Nevada, it's northern Washoe, Washoe, Pershing, and Churchill counties, and this is until 2 p.m. on Tuesday. So a little bit rough out there in the west with these wildfires causing some smoke and air quality issues. And in the east, one area, it's also air quality alerts in around Harrisburg, York, and Lancaster in south central PA, and also further west in southwestern Pennsylvania, where we've got some air quality issues going on. We also have severe thunderstorm watch covering much of North and South Dakota into northern Nebraska this evening. So we'll take a look at what's going on up there. Here's the latest satellite loop, and you can see the rotation of this system has now moved up into New England. So most of the rain is done. There's still some little bands of light showers on the backside, but it's a nice, you're right, it's very impressive looking for this time of year to see an upper low like this doing what it's doing. And then meanwhile, from the Great Lakes down to Georgia and Florida, you see there's a lot of lightning strikes going on in some spots, particularly in Georgia and Alabama, where we've had some showers and thunderstorms. Looks like there's some to my northwest that might come through in a bit, or maybe they'll go by just to my west. And you can also see the thunderstorms that are firing up in the Dakotas there. And that's where we have the severe thunderstorm watch. Clouds have moved into the Pacific Northwest. There's actually some rain that has come in from off the Pacific into Washington and Oregon. And here you can see the thunderstorms in the Dakotas. Got a slew of severe thunderstorm warnings, 6 of them at the moment, playing out. In the southeast, we've got a cluster of severe thunderstorm warnings in northwest Georgia and in eastern Alabama, and also in parts of central and south Georgia. Got some showers and storms moving through central South Carolina into parts of southwestern North Carolina. And in the northeast, the last of the shower bands looks like a little cluster of downpours up in Vermont. A couple of showers still in northeast Connecticut. Some showers scattered from Route 84 northward up the 87 and then up the Northway on the west side of the Northway in upstate New York. and we've got some scattered showers in parts of southwest and south central PA down into southeastern Maryland. So nothing really here, just these sort of pockets here. Again, it looks just like it would look in the summer, midsummer, which is where we are.
Your typical summer outlook. And we were talking about last night how it seems that in recent summers we have been going through a lot of humidity and the lack of any strong outbreak of cool, dry air from Canada, which we see at least once in July and more times, more often in August. But we've yet to see that. The only break we've had so far has been in the dew point temperatures overall. Um, and really, that's not much to write home about. And it looks like we're going to remain in a rather humid airflow as we make the transition from July to August later this week.
Yeah, and usually at least in the second half of August, if it's going to be a typical August, that's the only you start to see, let's call them higher quality, drier, cooler air masses coming down from Canada.
Right.
And I haven't heard anything with regards to it being unusually warm in Canada this summer, unlike the past several summers where they've had, crazy above normal temperatures. I don't think that's the case this year. So
Well,
that
it's despite all of that, Western Canada has a huge outbreak of wildfires, and so I might add, also does California. In fact, I heard California is dealing with their sixth worst uh, fire situation. Of course, this particular fire situation apparently was started by some jackass who drove his car. I think the car was on fire or something like that, and uh, everything good. Once the local woodlands and grasslands uh, got within range of that car, that vehicle, boom! It was like setting off a tinderbox. And now they've been battling this fire in California now for more than a few days, and they only have it contained to about 14%. So, and I heard that from one official that it may be many weeks before they finally get it all under control. And the smoke from that particular fire apparently has now made it all the way across the contiguous United States and on into our neck of the woods here in the Northeast. In fact, I did notice that the sky looked a bit on the hazy side during this afternoon as the sun was trying to come out.
we're going to be dealing with it again. Storm prediction center, as we said, we've got that severe thunderstorm watch uh, for the Dakotas and into north central Nebraska. That's in an area of slight risk from SPC. We also have a slight risk in southern Indiana, southeastern Illinois, and into central Kentucky, but I think much of the storms have already played through there. And unless there's others that fire up during the overnight, which is always possible. We also have a marginal risk that SPC has put up just to about New York City, southward through New Jersey, back over to Delaware and into eastern Maryland and southeastern Pennsylvania. I did notice that the Weather Service had actually they had put in the chance for some thunderstorms during the overnight tonight.
And where's that again?
For areas from New York City southwest into Maryland and Delaware.
On my Facebook forecast, I went for varying amounts of cloudiness, and I mentioned that there's a small risk of a passing shower or a rumble of thunder through this evening, and that would be primarily north of I 84, the I 84 corridor. I really didn't think too much of precipitation chances in most areas tonight, especially in the after midnight hours. Then maybe a shower tomorrow morning. Then I've got a better chance during tomorrow afternoon. I think the odds are going to rev up for showery and possibly thundery weather locally here tomorrow night. And it looks like it'll be an ongoing threat on Wednesday. Wednesday looks like the day, Joe, when the chances for getting wet will be at their greatest or at their highest. And then actually, I think we're going to dry out a little bit for later in the week, Thursday and Friday. Still going to be humid, and it may even get a bit hotter, but I don't think there's going to be much in the way of any showery weather here Thursday and Friday. And then back we go to humid, showery, thundery, blah blah for
Yeah.
the week for the
Margin,
weekend.
marginal risk tomorrow from the Carolinas and Georgia northwestward up through the upper Mississippi Valley and into the northern plains. We've got two areas of slight risk there that covers much of Illinois, into Iowa, eastern Missouri, and northwestern Kentucky. And the other slight risk zone is in central North Dakota into central South Dakota. There's a 2% tornado risk from Iowa to Illinois to western Kentucky for tomorrow. And then as we look on to day three, and this is Wednesday into Thursday, we have slight risk southwest Minnesota, eastern South Dakota, northeasternmost Nebraska, northwest Iowa, the marginal risk pushing eastward through northern Illinois, Indiana into Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. General thunderstorms up and down the East Coast and back to the Ohio Valley. A bit of a dry slot for Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and western Mississippi. And then you've got general thunderstorms from New Mexico northward and nothing from the Rockies west to the west coast. And as far as rain is concerned, well, clearly not much of any rain in California. In the east, we have this is 7 day rainfall amounts, anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half. Of course, it's convective, so you know that that means that some places could wind up with more than that. And we've got that from Maine down to Florida, back up to the Ohio Valley, through the lower Great Lakes, across into the upper Mississippi Valley, and pushing back into parts of the Dakotas. And this is, uh, they had a marginal risk for flash flooding for Long Island and central and South Jersey. Most of that's played out now with this upper low, so that I think that's pretty much a done deal, unless something pops up that we're not aware of. And we also have a slight risk continuing tonight from southeastern Illinois to Kentucky, through Tennessee and down into Georgia, which includes me. I'm in the slight risk for flash flooding, marginal risk to the Florida Panhandle, marginal risk in central and South Florida, marginal risk in parts of the Southwest. Tomorrow, they've got a slight risk there in Northeast PA up to about Binghamton on the other side, and the slight risk edging into the Catskills in northwest New Jersey westward through the Ohio Valley and lower lakes. Slight risk in Illinois and Iowa, a slight risk from south central Kentucky through eastern Tennessee into North Georgia and southwestern North Carolina. So that's for tomorrow into Wednesday morning, and WPC for the next day. For Wednesday, Joe, they've got a marginal risk for, I mean, I guess we could say from Route 84 northward, marginal risk, actually, even to south of Route 84, much of Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, into western Maine and upstate New York, all in a marginal risk, and a marginal risk from the central Appalachians northwest into the northern plains, with a slight risk from eastern South Dakota, southeast through northern Illinois, and into northwest Indiana. So this is the time of year, just like today, 4 inches of rain over parts of eastern Long Island. Not saying anybody else is going to get that, but you get a thunderstorm that parks over your house, Joe, um, and sits there for a while. It could quickly put down a couple of inches of rain, and you wind up with some flash flooding. Not that we want that to happen to you.
No, yeah. Well, I've had that happen to me, especially last year. I even made the comment on more than one occasion that it seemed like my house was the epicenter for all of the heaviest rain. One day I had in mid-July last year, I had almost 9 inches of rain. So I understand. I know what it's like. But this year it has been not anywhere near that, and I'm very very thankful that that has been the case. And I know that Dennis Cassia is watching us right now from Springfield, Vermont, which
From
is the
at cellophane,
of Stellafane, where
yes, cellophane.
the big weekend for Stellafane is this weekend. And I know that Dennis probably, he's a part of the group that helps to set things up before the weekend arrives for people like yours truly who won't be there until Friday. But there were probably a few showers. I can tell you from looking back at the radar, the real hefty rains that occurred today in Vermont were right around Rutland, which was well north and west of where Springfield is. That's where they had probably some torrential rains and heavy downpours. And not to say that they may have been rain where Dennis was in Springfield, but certainly the worst rains today were located well north and west of where the conference or convention or gathering will be for this upcoming weekend.
All right, so our upper low is going out, and you'll notice that there's a shortwave trough that is moving through Wisconsin and Illinois. At least that was there this morning. And then in the west, we've got this southwest flow coming in off the Pacific, which is not doing California any good with rain, but it is bringing rain up into the Pacific Northwest. But the the flow is not from Canada. So until we get something that creates a flow from Canada, it's going to be impossible to get rid of the humidity. The upper low lifts out. The Midwest shortwave drops in for later Tuesday, and that's what might be the trigger mechanism later tomorrow for some shower and thunderstorm activity. And then it sort of hangs around on Wednesday, uh, where we might see more in the way of shower and thunderstorm activity. And then once that pulls out, uh, you're right. Thursday and Friday probably will be dry. There's another short wave and upper low that drops down into Michigan Friday, excuse me, Friday afternoon, and that pushes into the east on Saturday and pulls out on Sunday. So it might mean that we could have some shower and thunderstorm activity maybe late Friday, if not late Friday during the day on Saturday, and then Sunday probably looks a little better from that standpoint. And then going forward, the flow gets a little more northwest next week. Maybe just enough of a northwest flow to bring down a day or so of humidity relief at some point before the heights come back up. And, we got this deep upper low swinging across James Bay late next week, and that goes out. And then
And
you
that's
get
been
it
the, as I said yesterday, these upper lows that, in other summers past
would
would
be far enough south that you would get into them.
exactly, these upper lows have been shearing off to the north, and they've been coming, so close, but not close enough, and we're not getting any relief from them. So what are you going to
All
do?
right. I didn't notice anything on the upper air that would be suggestive of anything tropical impacting us in the Hurricane Center on their 8 o'clock update here on the tropical weather outlook. Uh, Still saying that this system that is east of the Leeward Islands is not going to do anything for the next 48 hours, but they have a 50% chance that something might develop in the next 7 days, and that would be over the weekend. The models with this, if it's there, it's not there. The European seems to be the one that wants to develop something, and the other models have hints of something, but they don't really do much with it. The GFS actually takes a weaker system into the Eastern Gulf of Mexico and tries to take a little closed low that goes up toward the central Gulf Coast early next week. I mean, it's not impossible. If you wind up with a weak system, you're probably going to wind up taking it further to the west. But just looking, just let me go back to the upper air real quick, because I'm sure if something is going to, if something does develop, I mean, I'm looking at this upper air. It's hard for me to imagine looking at the upper air flow in the east for next week. Let's see, let me get to Sunday and Monday. I mean, you've got westerly winds in the upper atmosphere to just about to southern Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey. And then by Tuesday, they actually drop down into Virginia. So the flow off the north of 35 degrees north is west southwest. So I would think that if anything were to come up, off the southeast coast of the United States, it would probably, if it stayed weak enough, it'd probably go into north, maybe the Carolinas. But ultimately, I think it would just turn northeastward and then just go out. I mean, that would be the obvious solution here.
A lot of people on social media have been making allusions to some, not all of the models, the Canadian model, for example, and the European, showing some kind of a system flirting with the Florida Peninsula around the 6th or 7th of August. And but again, not all the models are showing that. Other models are, showing maybe a mass of moisture, but nothing really organized. So Yeah, I find it interesting that the Climate Prediction Center for the Atlantic seaboard, for the immediate Atlantic seaboard, has a slight risk of excessive rainfall for the period from the 6th to the 8th of August. And
Right.
that boom is due to that potential tropical system, which,
Well,
who
this
knows?
is where I have the European up, and you could kind of see it come in Friday morning on the lower right, and then it's just sort of migrates northwestward, and then suddenly you've got a surface low that's in the northwestern Bahamas, and that sort of straddles the Florida East Coast offshore. And on today's run, it took it right over Charleston. It never really, I mean, it gets it down, the pressure's down into 1,004, 1,003, so it would imply that's a tropical depression or maybe a tropical storm, but it doesn't really develop it very much. And because of the way the upper air is on the European model, it just kind of stagnates there in South Carolina. So maybe SPC's looking, I mean, CPC's looking at this and saying, you know what, you know, if something does come in there and there's no, the westerlies stay far enough north, it may just wind up coming in and sitting there for a while, and let's put in a slight risk for excessive rainfall. I think that would make sense, based on what the Europeans doing anyway.
And if you want to go beyond the 8th of August, and you just showed this a few minutes ago, that there's another trough, another shortwave that's coming across the Great Lakes around the 11th or 12th of August. And so who knows if that system is still there. Although, again, as we can
Yes,
see, the Canadian,
it'd have to hang around for a long time.
right, right. The Canadian wants to kick it right out.
Right, and
But
I have the Canadian on the screen where it really doesn't form the low until it's off the South and North Carolina coast, and then it just goes out to the northeast from there. Uh, so, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of underwhelmed by this right now. I guess it's refreshing that the models aren't making Category 5 hurricanes.
correct.
You know, from that standpoint, I'll take it as a positive. But you got to have the right upper air conditions, and I don't know that they're ideal for uh, strengthening. Again, we're looking a week from now, so we'll certainly come back to this in the coming days. And since I've got the Europe, I'm going to put the European back up so we can follow this along for the regular weather. And you can see Tuesday in the afternoon and evening, we've got showers and storms, mainly just west of the coastline. They look like they're more in New Jersey, Hudson Valley, and eastern Pennsylvania, as opposed to southern New England and Long Island and southeastern New England, and then going up into upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Wednesday, then there's like another batch that comes through on the overnight. All right, we'll see how that plays. And then Wednesday, doesn't really do much on Wednesday, Joe. It looks like it takes, some upper trough that goes by Tuesday night, so leaves Wednesday mostly dry on the European, and Thursday mostly dry, and Friday afternoon and evening some showers and storms pop up. And then on Saturday, you've got a cold front with bringing showers and storms with a stronger upper trough. Maybe that's a severe weather risk day. And then after that, more showers and storms for Sunday. So kind of tries to bring a front to the coast and then stalls it. And that's the reason why when it develops this tropical system, it just kind of pins it down into the Carolinas and lets it sit there.
Oh, well, as I've said innumerable times, um,
It's a
once you
week
get past four or
away.
five, once you get past 4 or 5 days, it really is more or less just an educated guess. Could even be a coin toss as to where a system specifically is going to go. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. And we mentioned last night, to this point in time, the tropics have been relatively quiet, but as you pointed out last night, Joe, so was the case last year in August. We hardly had anything in August, and all of a sudden, bam, everything went crazy in September. So we'll see what happens this year. We still are waiting for the official confirmation that we're in a La Nina situation. And
Considering that last year we had such an active season with an El Nino, I don't think not ha I don't think the not having the La Nina is going to make a whole lot of difference in the total number of storms.
Well, traditionally that has been the case. El Nino supposedly, we said that last year. Oh, it's an El Nino summer, so we're not going to see as many hurricanes. And what happened? Quiet in August, then went ballistic in September into October.
Right.
So you're probably right. You're probably right on that account.
Well, let's do a little Briller Jeopardy, shall we?
Surely
Yes.
tonight, right?
What's that?
You have it tonight.
I do, and we have our five cities in a bonus, and we're doing July average highs, and we're going to start with Jacksonville, Florida, Joe. Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, I'm going to take a shot right off the bat. How about 86 degrees?
Oh, how about that? You're just way too low.
Really?
Way too low.
Well,
Uh, if if you're
last night,
if you're more than five too low, I consider that way too low. Maggie P gets it at 92 with Ruben Fairchild and Vincent Croce and William Uber. 91 are runners up. Owen Daniel gets it also at 92 with the Frank Scalera runner up at 91 and Chuck Cardillo 92.
all right.
Las Vegas.
Oh God, Las Vegas. How about I'll say 102.
Um, it's not far off, but it's a little too low. Craig Carlberg at 107. Chuck Cardillo at 101. Mike Waterhouse gets it at 105. 105. So does Frank Scalera and William Uber. 105.
Well, wait a minute. Mike Waterhouse said 106.
Oh, I thought I saw 105.
105 for Rich. Oh no, not Rich Rochmansky.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Mike, the 106 you guys are runners up. It's 105 for Frank Scalera and for William Uber.
Yes.
Okay, next, Joe, is Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. How about 81?
That's a good guess. That's a little low, but it's a good guess. A little low. Rich Rothmansky is a little less low at 82. And Thank Kimball is a little high at 85, but William Uber at 83 and Latex Dreams at 83. The winners, and Miss Blue Ocean at 83. All right, next is New Orleans.
New Orleans?
New Orleans, not New Orleans. It's New Orleans.
Oh, well.
You have
I'm
to
just
say it. You have to, or New Orleans. You have to say it like it's one word.
I'm saying it the way Bugs Bunny did in that cartoon. Ah, this New Orleans. I think I'm going to stick around for the Matty Grass.
Yes.
Um, well, how about 91?
How about you ring the bell for yourself, Joe? 91 it is. And Frank Carlberg and Infomax also nailing it at 91. And the last one tonight is New York City's average high for
Oh,
July.
in July?
Hmm.
God, I will say, I should know this right off the top of my head here. How about 83?
That's a little low. A little low. Mike Waterhouse gets it. I got this one. 85. 85 for New York City. And the bonus is Paris, France.
Oh,
Paris, France.
well, I was watching, apparently the rain has ended in Paris and they had sunshine today. And I was watching this morning a volleyball game that was taking place their time, like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And they were really sweating up quite a bit. So I'm going to say 85 in Paris, France.
That is actually way too high, believe it or not. But
Oh,
we do have winners on the board, Joe. Ring the bell for Tyler Fienga and Mike Waterhouse. So they get gold. They each get a gold medal. 79 average high.
and thinking about it, if you're running around like crazy for an hour and a half in bright sunshine, it doesn't really matter if it's 79. you're going to work up a sweat one way or another, and that's exactly what they did.
Oh, absolutely. All right. I think that pretty much wraps it up for tonight. I don't have any exciting news other than the fact that Wednesday I have to drive to Kennesaw. I have to.
Executive producer Ruben Fairchild, you were obviously late to the game. We did go into a discussion about the wildfires out west, and we did mention that the smoke has indeed worked its way eastward. Shame on you, Ruben. You should be on time, like everybody else was.
Well,
Good night.
thank you for saving me from doing the chastisement.
Yes, okay.
No, I have to go Wednesday to Kennesaw.
To
Uh,
where?
Kennesaw. Chickasaw Falls.
Oh, okay.
This is Kennesaw, which is uh, north of Atlanta. I have to go and but my daughter's getting married in November, so I naturally have to go out and get a new dress.
And
So I'm
naturally, of course,
right.
naturally, of course, since your daughter is getting married this
You're
year,
right, exactly, correct.
my daughter has to get married this year too.
But yours is getting married before mine. Mine's getting married in November.
And in fact, on Thursday, I've got to get fitted for my tux.
Yeah, see, we're not doing tuxes. I have to go buy a charcoal gray suit, okay, and a white shirt, and I have to wait to be told what color tie I'm supposed to wear. So that's my project for this week. That's my trip on Wednesday. It will not stop us from being on Wednesday night because I'm going to go early in the morning because it's about an hour and 40-minute drive.
Okay.
That's the nearest men's warehouse,
Oh, all
you
right.
know. Otherwise, I have to go to the cowboy store.
You don't have a Joseph A. Bank there, do you?
No, no, we don't have a Joseph A. Bank. We don't have a Robert Hall. We don't have. Is that they're still? Are they still around?
I don't think so.
Right,
Barney's, remember Barney's?
right. When the prices go up, 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 and the no, when the value goes up, 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 and the prices go down, down, down. Robert Hall will show you the reason we give you
High
the
quality econ.
economy. Yeah, they had the best corduroy suits in town, didn't they?
Exactly. Now they had a commercial for Barney's where they had all these
7th
famous.
Avenue and 17th Street, free parking, free alterations.
They had a commercial where they had all these famous people as young kids, like Louis Armstrong. What are you going to be, Louis? I'm going to be a famous singer and trumpet player someday. And they go through all these things, and then they look at Barney. Barney's like a nerdy kid with glasses, and say, "What are you going to do, Barney? Yeah, Barney. What are you going to do?" And the nerdy kid looks at all of them and says, "I don't know, but you're all going to need clothes."
Right. Every so often, my parents would actually take me to Barney's to get a suit there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not all these things. Remember on CBS News Radio 88 back in the day, Gramercy Park closed at
Gramercy Park closed. Was it 6th
60
Avenue and
West 24th Street.
right? Oh
Oh,
God. Yeah, no, though they don't those places are long gone.
yep.
Long gone. And we're going to be long gone too in a moment. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this podcast. Use that coupon code.
Summer 20. Yeah, that's right. I wasn't here to do it the first time, was I? Summer
No.
2024.
And if you do, you will get.
10% off.
I was laughing at my thinking we'll get a new sponsor. We'll get Blue Chew. Have you
Now,
seen those? Have you
I
seen
just
the?
want to say we thank everybody for hitting the like button. In spite of the small crowds we've been having of late, we still managed to get 60 likes tonight, Joe.
Right. And thank you. We were very happy with that. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we'll see everybody tomorrow night at 7:35. Have a great evening and stay safe. See you tomorrow. Night, night.
Nighty night.